Welcome to the dashboard section. In this section, we'll be covering these four main topics. The first one being bringing of views in. In this topic, we will be bringing the different worksheets that we created onto our dashboard, and I'll be showing you how we can bring them in. Second, we will size the dashboard so all the other worksheets that we created are able to fit inside that space. Afterwards, I'll go over the dashboard objects and what each of those different items mean and how we can use each of them. I'll also be showing you how we can create connections between each of these different dashboards. So if you were to make changes on any one, then others would be reflected and show data depending on that selection that we have made on this on a worksheet. So let's get started. In this lecture, we will be bringing the views into our dashboard. I'll show you how we can bring the views in. So from our previous lectures, each of the sheets that we have created are now stored over here from sheet 1 to sheet 22. This workbook will be available in the exercise files of this course, or you can also find it on our website passingbi.com and clicking on the downloads. So let's create a dashboard and bring the views that we have created inside of our dashboard. So what we would need to do is click on this dashboard icon over here that we see on the bottom, and we're gonna get to the dashboard screen. Currently we don't have anything in here. It says to drop the sheets. All the sheets that we have created are being shown over here, and if you were to hover over them, it will show us the preview of how the sheets look. It is always a good practice to give each of these worksheets a name when you're creating them, so when it comes time to bring the views in, you do not need to hover over like we're having to do right now. So if we had the views in, all we would need to do is we would just need to drag the various views. So let's drag in 3 of these views. It's real simple. It's just drag and drop. You just drag it and then you can specify where you want it to show. So before letting go of the left mouse button, we can specify where we want to drop it. So if you just want to show it here, we can drop it here and it's going to be visible. Same thing, if we want it to show on the side, we can drop it right here and it will be shown over here on the right. So this is how you bring the views inside of your dashboard. In the next lecture, we will be covering the sizing of the dashboard. So continuing off from the previous lecture, in this lecture I'll show you how to size your dashboard. So when you create a dashboard, Tableau specifies the size. You can change the sizing of your dashboard by clicking on the size option over here. Go to the drop down, and over here you can assign it an automatic size based on the user screen size, or you can assign it a fixed size, and you can go to the drop down over here where it says custom and then assign it based on the user screen size. Good practice is to sometimes leave it as automatic, and this way the dashboard will size based on the user screen. In our example, we're going to use the fixed size, and from here we can specify the size. So you can change the width of the dashboard. So let's make it 1200 and make the height 800. So this is how you size up the dashboards. In the previous 2 lectures, we covered bringing the views in and we covered sizing the dashboards. In this lecture, we will be covering the filtering of the dashboards. So we want to create a filter on each of these dashboards. So depending on the selection that we make, so let's say we want to see the state of Alabama, instead of adding a quick filter, we want to enable an option where the user can select the state and the view changes on each of these sheets based on the selection that we have made. So if we want to see the various sales by subcategory based on the state Alabama, and we want to see the various categories here and the amount of sales. These three views are similar. This is showing a text table, this is showing the bar chart, and this is also showing us sales by subcategory. So if we want to enable sales by Alabama state, all we would need to do is click on this icon right here which says use as filter. Once we have this clicked, all of your dashboards are going to change based on this selection. So this is showing us sales by the state of Alabama. If we want to go down to the postal code level, if we want to see the sales by this specific postal code, by enabling the use as filter, it lets us filter the entire dashboard based on this postal code. If we want to see sales by city, let's go down to Texas, let's go to Houston, and let's click on the 77036 postal code. From here we can see sales based on this postal code throughout Houston. If we want to see throughout Houston, we can click on Houston and we can see sales by various subcategories based on the Houston city. So this is how you use the filtering option. So you can enable the filtering on each of these different dashboards. This way a user can select if he wants to see sales based on subcategory of phones throughout. So these are the sales by the subcategory phones throughout the different states and postal codes. Since we had created a hierarchy in our previous lecture, we were able to draw back down to the state level, and now we can see sales by various states, and we can draw back in. So this is where the hierarchies are useful. So we can unselect the phones and let's select accessories. So we're able to see sales by various state for the accessory subcategory, and so on. In the next lecture, I'll show you how we can add various text objects to our dashboard. In this lecture, I'll briefly go over the various objects that we can select in our dashboard. So we have the option to select the horizontal, vertical, text, image, web page, blank objects. The objects button and extension have been recently added in the newer versions of Tableau. So dashboard objects can either be tiled or they can be floating. Tiled objects are arranged in a grid. So when you bring in an object, so it shows you a grid of where we can place the object. But if we have the floating selected, and then if we were to bring in one of the worksheets, it would let us place the worksheet wherever we want it to be. So if we wanted the worksheet sheet 9 to be placed here, we can select the floating object and then we can place it here. These objects, floating objects, are best used in cases like when you're bringing in text and we want the text to appear right above the bar chart, and we wanted to say subcategory, let's say we wanted to say sales. We can place this object right here. So we wouldn't assign it to a grid, we would assign it as, we would put in as a floating. You can also bring in a floating image onto our dashboard, and then we can assign an image. So the text, so we can bring in a text. Text can be used as a title. It can be used to elaborate or point out certain things in our dashboard. So this is how you would use a floating text object. You just drag and drop and then assign a name. And we can modify the formatting. We can increase the size if we need it. We can change the color, we can change the font, and this is how it would appear. An image object is an image as shown right here. A web page is a link. So let's say we wanted a link to show up. We can just type in the link right here and it would show us the website itself. So the user is able to select and it would take them to the website. You can also include a blank object. Blank objects are sometimes used to limit the user from clicking on certain parts of the dashboard. So if you don't want the user to click on this sheet right here, you can put a blank object right on top of this sheet, and now when you publish this onto the server, the user wouldn't be able to click on the sheets, but they still have the ability to click on the other parts of the dashboard. So they're not able to click on here, but they're able to click on various sheets. You can also use the blank sheet to white out certain parts. So we included a blank object. We can go to layout and then we can change the shading to white, and this would hide it from view. We can add a border around it and so on. We can increase the size. We can increase the size. We can change the position of the chart and so on. The button, the new feature that's been added in Tableau is the button feature. This is a pretty useful feature. You can assign a button, and what you can do with the button is you can assign it to point to different dashboards. So we included a button. We can change the way the button looks by changing go to edit button and changing the image of the button, and we can say that when the user clicks on this button right here, we want it to go to maybe another dashboard. In this case, let's select tip, or let's select sheet 1. Click on OK. Now when the user were to click on this button right here, it would take them to the sheet 1 dash worksheet. So this is how you would use a button. Buttons are pretty useful. You can also add extensions. We'll be covering extensions on the website, so you can go to passingbi.com to learn more about extensions, and I'll also include a link that will explain how the extensions work in the description. So we covered text, image, web page, blank, button, and extension. Horizontal and vertical objects are the objects that specify the grids of the dashboard. So let's say we were to include our horizontal object right here. We can put sheets within this object right here. So this is similar to having the tile feature turned on. So we can include the dashboard, and we can say that we want to put it right here. We want to put the sheet 6 right under this. So the horizontal and vertical containers allow the designer to group worksheets and dashboards from left to right across your page and edit the height of all elements at once. So this is what the horizontal would do. So if you want the worksheets to appear left to right, you can include a horizontal object or container, and then you can drop the worksheets in it. Same thing, the vertical would allow the user to put worksheets and dashboard components top to bottom and edit the width of all the elements at once. So if we were to include a vertical object or container, we can include dashboards within it. So this is how you use the objects in Tableau. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message on Udemy or through the website if you would like to learn more about the containers, the various containers, the various objects, and so on. This will be the final lecture in our dashboard section. In this section, I'll give you some tips on how we can clean up our dashboard. So this is the dashboard that we have been working on in this section. You will find it on our website passingbi.com, or you can find it in the lecture files. So in order to clean up the dashboard that we have created, first we should assign this dashboard a title. So the view that we have over here is we're seeing sales by state for various subcategories. So in order to add a title for the dashboard, all we would need to do is we would need to click on this button right here which says show dashboard title, and a title will appear, and over here we can assign it a name. And currently the title, the dashboard one where it's coming from is this right here, the title that we see on the bottom. It is always a good practice to assign the sheets and the dashboards that you create a name, so you can easily find them and pinpoint them later on. So let's give it a name right here instead of up there. So let's call it sales by subcategories. So we assigned it a name. Let's increase the size, change the color to a red color, or let's change it to a black. Click on apply. Let's put it in the middle and press OK. Let's move the image that we had created over here. Click on press shift and then drag and drop right above the filters that we already have in place. Let's remove the website that we had. Let's take this out, and let's take out these different text objects that we had created in our previous lectures. So the main thing that I wanted to show you over here was, as you can see, that these dashboards, not the entire dashboard is visible and not the entire space is being utilized. Like in this case, even though the dashboard is this small, only this much space is being used, and we have so much white space over here. Same thing in this dashboard, we have so much white space. In this dashboard, if we were to expand, so this much space is being used. This is still a good dashboard. So in order to utilize this white space that we have, what we can do is up here where it says currently it's being set on standard. So if we don't have a lot of values, we can change this standard to the entire view. But in this case, if we were to change this into entire view, the dashboard is not going to look right. So as you can see, by this. In this case, we can just change it to fit width, so the entire space over here is getting used. Same case over here, this has already been set to fit width. This one we can change it to the entire view, so the entire space is being utilized. Over here we can try the entire view. It doesn't make as much sense. We can probably remove this view and increase the size of the chart and keep entire view. In this one, the user would have to scroll down to see the rest of the figures. What we can do is maybe we can move this one over here to the bottom and move this to the right and move this to the left and decrease the size. And over here maybe we can do fit width, and this one we can do fit width as well. Let's change this chart to one of the bar charts that we had created, or let's include the sheet 9. Let's include the sheet 9, remove this and do entire view, and let's go ahead and change all the font to the same font. So we're gonna go formatting, workbook, change all font to one of my favorites, this one, and let's change all the worksheets to be size 9, black color, and let's increase maybe size 12 would make more sense. And let's go ahead and go to this worksheet, go to format, go to font, and let's change the default size to 12 for the worksheet. And then for the pane, let's change it to size 12. Let's go inside the dashboard and see why these are being shown the way they are. So let's go right here, go to format, go to measure values field, and let's try to increase the size. Let's go to measure names, go to black, change the title to size 11 or 10 maybe. Go to text, change this, remove the bold, change this to size 11. There you go. So now it looks a little bit more cleaner. Now let's go back to the dashboard. Let's make it so this image is taking the entire space. So let's do fit image and let's do center, so we can center the image. We probably don't need this. Let's decrease the size. Let's bring this down. And let's maybe remove this. And let's assign these a name. So sales by state, sales by segment, sales by Let's not give this one a name. Let's give it a name of sales by subcategory. And let's change all the titles in the worksheet that we have and give it some shading. So we're gonna go formatting, dashboard, go to shading. Let's give it the title black shading, and let's maybe change the font to the white color. Let's go edit title. Let's give it a white color, and let's go to format, dashboard, and let's give all the worksheet titles shading, and let's bold it and let's color it black. Let's remove this white space that we have. There you go. So now, as you can see, it looks a lot more cleaner than what we had before. So this is how you would perform a cleanup on your dashboard. And we can perform even more cleanup by maybe bolding the different measure names. So this is how you would clean up your dashboard. So keep in mind this option right here to utilize the space that you have in your dashboard. If we wanted to add filters, we can go click on the worksheet, we can go to the drop down, go to filters, and depending on the fields that we have in the dashboard, we can include the filters. So if we wanted the subcategory filter, let's change this into a single value list, or let's change it into a multiple value drop down. Let's remove all the filters, and from here let's move it up right there, and from here the user can manually select what all he wants to see. And if we want this filter to be applied to the other worksheets, what we would need to do is go to the drop down, go to apply to worksheets, all using this data source. So now, depending on the selection that the user makes, these changes will be reflected throughout the dashboard. So this is how you can perform a cleanup